You've tried. You've tried to eat better, to wake up earlier, to stop the habit that keeps pulling you back. And for a few days, maybe a week, something in you held on. You used willpower. You pushed through. You white-knuckled it. And then one morning, without warning, you didn't. And you told yourself the same thing you always tell yourself. I just don't have enough discipline. But what if that story is completely wrong? What if willpower was never the answer, and the people who actually changed their lives figured that out first? Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you is going to feel obvious in hindsight, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Here is what the entire self-help industry has gotten wrong for decades. It told you that change is a matter of wanting it badly enough, that if you just tried harder, pushed more, said no one more time, eventually it would stick. So you tried harder. And it worked, right up until it didn't. Because here's the problem with willpower. It is a finite resource. Psychologist Baumeister spent years studying what he called ego depletion, the idea that every decision you make, every temptation you resist, every moment you force yourself to do something you don't want to do, drains from the same limited pool. By evening, that pool is almost empty. This is why you eat well in the morning and fall apart by 9 p.m. This is why you stick to the plan on Monday and abandon it by Thursday. This is why every streak you've ever built has ended on a tired evening, not a rested morning. You weren't weak, you were running on empty, and nobody told you that the tank has a limit. But here's what's even more important than that. Willpower doesn't just deplete. It was never the right tool for the job. Think about the people you know who have genuinely changed, who lost the weight and kept it off, who built the business and maintained it, who quit the habit and never went back. Ask them how they did it. Almost none of them will say, I just forced myself. They'll say, I stopped fighting it and started setting it up differently. They changed the environment, they changed the identity, they changed what the behavior felt like before relying on willpower to enforce it. Willpower is the last resort of someone who hasn't yet changed the system. And today we're going to talk about the system. Psychology has known for decades what self-help books are only starting to admit. Human behavior is not primarily driven by conscious decision-making. It is driven by environment, habit loops, emotional prediction, and identity. Dr. Wendy Wood at USC spent 30 years studying habit formation. Her conclusion? Approximately 43% of what we do every day is not a decision. It is a habit, triggered automatically by context, not by choice. Which means almost half your life is already running on autopilot. The question is not whether you have autopilot. The question is, who programmed it? If you've spent years telling yourself you're someone who struggles with consistency, your autopilot has been programmed to confirm that. Every slip reinforces it. Every restart confirms the story. I try, and then I stop. Real change does not override the autopilot with willpower. Real change reprograms the autopilot entirely, and it does this through 3 specific psychological mechanisms, which are the 3 insights we're covering today. These are not motivational concepts. They are documented, peer-reviewed, reproducible, and they work precisely because they work with your psychology, not against it. Dr. Wendy Wood's research showed something that sounds almost too simple. When people move to a new city, new apartment, new commute, new grocery store, their habits reset, both the bad ones and the good ones. Old smokers quit, old gym goers stopped going, but people who wanted to start running suddenly ran. Not because they became different people, because the context changed. The environmental cues that triggered the old behavior were gone. This is called context-dependent behavior, and it explains why you can go on holiday and eat perfectly for 2 weeks, then come home and fall back into every old pattern within 48 hours. It wasn't the holiday that changed you, it was the removal of the triggers. You don't need to move cities to use this. You need to redesign your immediate environment. Put the book on your pillow. Delete the app from your home screen. Move the gym bag to the front door. Put the fruit at eye level and the junk food out of sight. These are not hacks. They are context engineering, reducing the friction for the behavior you want and increasing the friction for the behavior you don't. Every environment is a vote for a certain version of you. Design your environment to vote for the version you're becoming. In 1999, psychologist Peter Gollwitzer ran a series of studies on what actually makes people follow through on their intentions. He found that people who set a goal, "I will exercise more," followed through only about 35% of the time, but people who set what he called an implementation intention, "I will exercise at 7 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at this specific gym," followed through over 90% of the time. Same motivation, same desire, dramatically different outcomes. Why? Because the vague intention requires a decision every time. Every morning. Should I go today? I'm a bit tired, maybe tomorrow. But the implementation intention removes the decision entirely. It becomes, when X happens, I do Y, automatically. When my alarm goes off, I put on my shoes before I check my phone. When I sit down to work, I open the document before I open anything else. When I feel the urge to scroll, I pick up the book that's next to my phone. These when-then plans are not willpower. They are decision elimination. And decision elimination is one of the most powerful tools in behavioral psychology because it removes the moment of resistance before it even arrives. This line belongs to James Clear, and it is perhaps the most important sentence in modern behavioral psychology, because here is what it means in practice. Your goals are irrelevant if your systems produce a different result. You can want to be fit, but if your system is sleep through the alarm, skip breakfast, sit at a desk for 10 hours, eat whatever's convenient, the system wins. Every time. Not because you're weak, but because systems are the actual operating layer of human behavior. Goals are just the desired output. Systems are the process that generates the output. Now here's the insight beneath the insight. Systems don't require motivation to run. They require design. A good system runs when you're tired. It runs when you're not inspired. It runs when you don't feel like it. Because a good system doesn't ask how you feel. It asks what the next smallest step is. The writer who publishes consistently is not more inspired than you. They have a system. Write 200 words before coffee. Not 2,000, not a chapter, 200 words. The athlete who trains through the off-season is not more disciplined than you. They have a system. Shoes go on before the internal argument starts. The person who saved enough to quit their job is not more financially gifted than you. They have a system. The money moves automatically before they can choose not to save it. Design the system. Let the system do what willpower was never able to sustain. I want to leave you with one question, not to think about, to answer. What is one behavior you have been trying to force with willpower that you could instead make easier with design? Maybe it's putting your phone in a different room at night. Maybe it's moving your workout clothes to somewhere you'll see them. Maybe it's writing the when-then plan that removes the daily decision. Whatever it is, write it in the comments. Not because I'll grade it, but because the act of writing it is the first implementation intention. The moment it leaves your mind and becomes words, it becomes more real than a feeling. If this video shifted something for you, share it with one person. Not everyone, one person. The person you know who's been trying to change something through sheer force of will and keeps ending up back at the start. This might be the thing they needed to hear. And if you want to go deeper, if you want a channel that treats you like someone capable of understanding the real science behind who you are and how you work, subscribe. We are just getting started. I'll see you in the next one. Now, if this video made sense to you, there's a question you're probably sitting with right now. Okay, I understand the system, but what do I do when I fall off it? Because I always fall off. And when I do, I usually don't come back. That question has a very specific answer. And it is not about resilience. It is not about bouncing back. It is about what you tell yourself in the 24 hours after you slip and why that story determines everything that comes next. That is exactly what the next video covers. It is called You Are Not Behind. You Are Building in Silence. Watch it next. It is the piece that makes everything we talked about today actually stick.